for our top requested stocks round. So yeah. So actually, for most of our investors, me included, this is my favorite segment of our usual briefing. This used to be called the speed round, but top requested na lang siya ngayon kasi sometime before hindi siya speedy. In any case, so for the top requested stocks, we will go through the 10 most requested stocks that you, our audience, requested, and one by one, we will ask Juanis and April whether they like or dislike the stock by raising their paddles. So a green paddle means they like it, green thumbs up, and a red thumbs down paddle means they dislike it. So please just note that the answers that they would have to these stocks are their personal views and they're short-term in nature and are focused on the immediate drivers of each stock that they're seeing. Okay, so can we see a list of what the top 10 most requested stocks are? All right, so this is the lineup. We would be going through them one by one. So maybe we could flash the first one here. It's Semirara. Okay, there. So yeah, very nasty gap down there on the October period. I think that was after they declared a special dividend, and then now it's creeping back again. Of course, for second quarter is dividend season. Might that have something to do with it? In any case, yeah, one is April. Like or dislike Semirara? Please raise your paddles. All right. So both of them like it. One is the chart is already here. Could you tell us why you like SEC?
I think the worst is over for Semirara after making its adjustment. Although I like it, I would rather buy this into a pullback currently because I think it seems to be losing some momentum. But I think the opportunity range trade is here, and when I give a green paddle, that means there's a trading opportunity. Maybe it might not go back to the previous high, but I think if this corrects, you buy it and you range trade the configuration that you'll spot.
Okay, thank you, Juanis. How about April? What are you seeing for SEC?
Yeah, okay. So, of course, we know that the power supply situation in the country is tight. And, of course, SEC is a vertically integrated coal company with a power plant. And it should allow them to capitalize on that. And aside from that, of course, it is trading at an attractive valuation. You already mentioned the dividend season fast approaching, and the dividend yield, the projected dividend yield of Semirara for this year is 12.8%. Well, one of I think the risk is the falling coal prices, and coal accounts for 66% of profits. And, I mean, if coal prices continue to go down, then maybe the high dividend yield might not be sustainable. But that said, I mean, I really thought about it. I asked George, like, hey, George, how much was the cash dividends before? And he said it's a peso 50. So if you think about it, a peso 50 is still 4%. Because, of course, this year is 12%. And the 150 is probably like a worst case scenario because George said, coal prices, even though it's down, it's still 80% higher than pre-pandemic. So yeah, so you buy SEC because it's a dividend play. And if coal prices go up, then it's a bonus. But as it is, it's really cheap. Dividends are very high. So yeah, I think it's a good play.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that, April. I think I was checking out SEC the last a client asked about it. I checked its dividend yield last year. I think it was 22% or something like that.
Yeah. So in a way, you think about it. I mean, even if the stock doesn't really go up, you get all the cash dividends. You'll get your capital back, and whatever is left, that's it.
Okay. I guess it's just going to be a question of sustainability at this point. But both of them like SEC. What is our next stock there? Ooh, okay. AC Energy, fellow in the energy sector. What do you guys think of this guy? I think it's been going down since 2022. Juanis, maybe you could begin. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Juanis dislikes it. April likes it. I think this is one of the first few times I've seen April actually like ACEN. All right. Sige. Juanis first, and then April.
Well, I guess I'd like to see a lot more in its trend before I become before I can whet my appetite for it, right? Because I don't know if I pick this up now, how long I'm gonna have to wait to be correct. So I'd rather be focusing on issues that I can have more confidence in. So
Alright.
the trend's still down. So I'd beg off.
Okay, thanks, Juanis. How about you, April?
Yeah, okay. So, if you look at the story, it looks great. It's a play on renewable energy. One of the few power companies that is set to grow its capacity and recurring profits. And finally, after so many years, it has become cheap. Capital appreciation potential of 60%. So, that's why we like it. The problem is, renewables are no longer in vogue right now. As you can see, I mean, even in other countries, renewables are no longer uso because I guess they need a lot of funding and, interest rates are so high, etc. And fuel prices are um, going down. So there's less incentive for people to do renewable when your coal and oil aren't as expensive anymore. And aside from that, I think after so many years, they finally realized, ACEN has a good story, but they're suffering from execution risks or delays in their project completion. So even though they say, oh, we're targeting a 19.8 billion in 2025, that might be pushed back to 26 or 27. So may ganong ano. And power companies are supposed to be high dividend payers, but of course, since ACEN is uh, still a growing power company, it might not be able to pay the same cash dividend. So I can understand why some people don't like this. But I mean, for us, of course, because it's cheap, we kind of find it attractive, and we start taking a look at it.
All right, great. Yeah, that's a very interesting take on ACEN. So April is already bullish on it, but yeah, I think given the technical consideration, you just need to be, if you're gonna buy this, you just need to be prepared to possibly hold. But at least the fundamentals at this point, I think, are on your side. What's our
Maybe wait for commodity prices to go up again, and maybe that could be the catalyst to make ACEN more attractive to drive the prices higher.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that, April. What's our next stock? Okay. All right. Constant favorite, I think, in terms of COL's stock picks, Metrobank. Do we like or dislike this stock? Can we see your paddles? All right. Okay. Both of you guys like it. I think that's not a surprise. Maybe a short explanation as to why. Juanis first.
Well, I think we've seen the lows coming towards the end of 2023, and the recovery was quite fast. So that's also a good condition. I think, though, Metrobank will still have to go through a sideways environment before breaking out of that under 60 barrier that it still has to do. So I think what I'd do over here is I'd wait for pullbacks for Metrobank and maybe pick it up gradually there. In fact, I'd do the same with all the three major banks.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Juanis. So just a little bit stretched, but good technical configuration. How about you, April?
Yeah, okay. So we like Metrobank. Well, it has the lowest NPL ratio. It's very liquid, lowest loan to deposit ratio, a lot of low cost savings, current and savings account deposits at 60% of its total deposit base. And the capital adequacy ratio is the highest among the big three. I think it's like 16, 17%. And I think one of the main reasons why people are now starting to favor Metrobank also is because, remember, they've paid huge cash dividends the past 3 years. Okay, so our investment guide would say probably a dividend yield of, say, 2%. But that is, they assume that it would only be 160 per share. But remember, the past 2 years they paid 3 pesos in cash dividends per share. So actually, dividend season is coming up, and maybe they could pay 3 pesos because the capital adequacy is still very high, much higher than what is required. And then among the big three, it's trading at only 0.7 times price to book, which is really very cheap. So those are the reasons why we like Metrobank.
Okay. Would you characterize Metrobank as the most defensive bank amongst the big three?
Well, most defensive in the sense that it has like the strongest balance sheet, right? Best NPL ratio, high NPL cover, more focused on CASA deposits. I mean, think about LDR of 61 with a CASA of 60, meaning 100% of almost 100% of what it's lending out comes from CASA, which costs them virtually nothing, diba? So in that respect, then it's quite impressive. Then they'll earn the highest yields there and high capital adequacy. So very strong bank.
All right. Thanks for that, April. So Metrobank, both of them like it. What is our next stock in the top 10 list? Okay, so Ayala Land. I think this has seen a reversal in terms of foreign investor sentiment. I remember seeing several foreign investment houses turning sour on the stock sometime 2022, 2023. It looks like that sentiment has reversed. What do you guys think? Do you like it or dislike it? Can you see your paddles? Okay, both of them have a green thumbs up. Yeah, we could start with Juanis. What do you like about Ali?
Well, pretty much what you said. I mean, a reversal has been shown already. That came in quite in August of September last year. Then it generated a nice horizontal base and drove good accumulation there and broke out of that again. And so I think what we have to do now is wait for another consolidation, and it'll probably do something similar to that again later after that. So just prepare for yourself with the winding and buy in the low range. I think that should be okay.
Thank you, Juanis. Do you think there's a high probability this could already break out of that 35 zone there in the short term?
Probably not. I'd rather see it wind up more so that it can handle resistance better, because if it were to break out of 35, that'll come back into the pattern.
All right. So that's going to be likely a fake out, as Juanis mentioned. Thank you. How about you, April? What are you seeing for Ali on the fundamental side?
Yeah. Okay. So property companies will benefit from peaking interest rates because they're most sensitive to the movement of interest rates. And of course, the other qualities of Ayala Land, it's large portfolio of assets created across the country. It's diversified sources of income. So they have both rentals and they have the quick earning property, residential properties, and then of course excellent track record. Of course, the malls are now performing above pre-pandemic levels. And recently they said they're targeting profits to grow to double from 2023 to 2028.
All right. I think it was mentioned before, like one of the reasons why people were a bit sour on Ali is that they were hearing that some of the reserved units of people that they bought on the residential side were being returned. Would you have any update, I guess, in terms of that trend? Are we still seeing that?
Yeah. I think, that's quite common given the developers' practice right now, no? Where they give low down payments, low amortizations. I mean, they stretch it out to 5 years. And then after 5 years, they're going to tell you, give me a huge lump sum. So a lot of people can't afford. But among the many developers, before interest rates peaked, one of the reasons why Ayala Land reversed was the realization that Ayala Land also targets the super high-end market, the people who buy those 70 million peso condo units. And they pay it in cash. They're not affected by interest rates. It's an emotional purchase. They just want to buy it, So in some ways, they're less vulnerable in that respect. So I think the foreign investors were initially very concerned about the returns. Kind of realized, well, they're not as affected because of that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you for that. So both of them like Ayala Land. What is our fifth stock on the list? Okay. Very interesting stock, especially after today's development. So AREIT. I think this had a secondary placement that was announced today, and that's why the stock fell. Do you guys like it or dislike it? Can we see your paddles? Like? Oh, like. Oh, I'm surprised Juanis likes it. I thought I would think the gaff down there he would have disliked. Okay, could you tell us why? Juanis first and then April.
The
Why
green paddle before seeing the price surge. I think maybe April can explain what took place there, but I think prior to that, the mere fact it managed to rally back to the previous high was a good show. It stood there for quite some time. I think some unusual thing because of that placement might just need to be able to handle. But my guess is I don't think I'm going to see that price go back down to the December low anyway. So you should take advantage of whatever yield it can produce when it generates a higher low from this swing. So take advantage of it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Juanis. Yep. April?
Okay, so I made the slide before it was sold off today. Okay. Again, it's a beneficiary of peaking interest rates because, of course, AREIT is a REIT, so it gives you that income. And of course, we know that REITs were sold off the last year and a half because interest rates went up. So there were other alternatives. Anyway, the reason why AREIT was sold down was because of the share placement. But you have to ask yourself, so why was there a share placement? Because Ayala Land will be injecting some assets inside, which we believe will be positive for AREIT because, first of all, it will reduce their exposure to office properties, which is right now one of the more vulnerable segments of the property market. Second of all, it will make AREIT the undisputed leader or biggest REIT company, and it will make it a potential index target, no? Which is very important because if you become an index target, the fund managers will be forced to buy your shares anyway. And here we said that the dividend yield is 6.4%, but that was before it was sold off. Now, after it was sold off, if you can buy it, I think it's a good opportunity because you'll get the dividend yield of around 7.4%, which is very high for a REIT company with a good name. And I
Yep.
think another positive is the assets that it will buy will have a weighted average lease expiry of around 20 years. So yeah, quite stable. That will stabilize the dividends. So quite good. I think it's a good opportunity. Oh, and by the way, the reason why they have to do the share placement is because under the REIT law, REITs have to maintain a 33% public flow. So if Ayala Land injects those assets, the free float goes down. Therefore, they have to sell the shares again to maintain that float at 33%.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very important distinction to, I guess, make, especially for our audience here. The selling was done, of course, also to comply with regulatory requirements. And it's not like just because they wanted to take profit and sell it to you.
Yeah,
all right.
and for me, I just want to add, because initially the worry was now you put yourself in a vulnerable position where you actually have to sell shares or else you'll get into trouble with the regulators. But if you think about it, if AREIT will become an index member, then as a fund, you have no choice but to actually buy those shares, diba? And I mean, if the company's gonna give you a good dividend yield of 7%, then why not?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, very good. Very interesting take there on AREIT. Again, maybe you heard it here first. Dark horse, index candidate also. Okay, so we've gone through the first 5. We threshed out your answers for the next 5. In the interest of time, we will try to go through these in a more speedy manner. So I would encourage our panelists also to have more concise answers. All right, so the next stop, Jollibee, my daughter's favorite chicken joy. Is this your favorite stock as well? Juanis likes it, and April, whoa, April dislikes it. Okay, all right. Sige, maybe Juanis first. I think Juanis mentioned this as one of his
I think I explained my position here earlier. I like it. Huh?
Yeah,
So go
I
ahead.
think Yeah, April will be the more interesting one. Why do you dislike JFC?
Yeah. Okay, I just want to qualify that I don't really dislike it like long term. No, if you look at my key investment highlights, you will notice that they are very positive. In fact, Jollibee did very well in 2023. But that said, it has rallied a bit. It's no longer attractively priced. So yeah, I think we just wanted to pull back first before we buy. But yeah, there are some things, positive things going on for Jollibee. Like it's going to benefit if inflation goes down. And then the acquisitions that recently, pre-pandemic, the 2019-18 acquisition, CBTL, Smashburger already turning around and profits are now above pre-pandemic levels. So we like it, but it's just expensive. We want to buy it cheap.
All right. So it's just a matter of waiting for a pullback for better price levels for April. Okay, what's our next stock? All right, the parent company of the first stock. So DMCI. Juanis, sorry, both of you guys, do you like or dislike DMC? Okay, another divergence here. So Juanis likes it, April dislikes it. Okay, so this is interesting. All right, Juanis.
Well, in my take, this is good for range trading since I think the range is very clear and wide enough. You've got almost 2 peso range there, so you should be taking your profits closer to the upper end of that horizontal range and buying it back, hopefully in the lower part or at least the lower half of the range.
All right. Okay, thanks, Juanis. What about you, April? Why do you dislike
Yeah.
DMC?
Okay, I just like to explain that it's not like that I don't really like it, except that, I think the reason why you buy DMCI is because it's a proxy to Semirara. But if I look at Semirara will give me a dividend yield of 12.8%, whereas DMC will give me a dividend yield of 7.7. So I'm just saying, relatively speaking, I'd rather just buy SEC than buy DMC. Not to say that, I don't like it totally.
Okay. So yeah, okay, very clear. So April does not dislike it totally. It's just there's just might be some sort of repetitiveness, especially if you're looking at your portfolios. If you're gonna both have Semirara and DMC there, just stick with the SEC for the higher dividend yields. All right. So what's our next stock on doc? Okay, so Ayala Core, another Ayala stock that had a private placement recently. Do you guys like it or dislike it? April likes. Okay, and Juanis also likes. So one of our largest conglomerates. Juanis, why do you like it?
I think we've also gone through bottoming period already here, and that this pullback we're seeing should be the opportunity people should look at for entries. I think it would make a higher low here than the low that it did in November, and since we're kind of halfway down that distance, that should present the opportunity that people would have to be able to buy into this. So yeah, go ahead and pick it up already. I think eventually that will go higher.
Okay, copy that, Juanis. How about April?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a diversified conglomerate with a strong balance sheet and attractive valuation. So actually, yeah, it's more like a value play. That's why we like it.
Are you concerned that Mitsubishi sold it recently at that price, 630, 635? The placement? Is it something that bothers you?
Well, okay, so yeah, it's quite interesting because today I had a discussion with one of our Taiwan, the people from Taiwan, and they're talking about the reforms in Japan. That's why Mitsubishi had to sell because the ownership of their shares in Ayala is not really part of their core holdings at this point. So the reforms required in Japan would necessitate that they exit in positions that are no longer part of their core holdings, which is why they sold it, but not really a reflection of the fundamentals of Ayala.
Okay. Thank you for that, April. I think a lot of us did not.
April, what does that mean? How much more shares do they have?
They have a little bit more, I
What
think.
you said, that looks like they're probably going to empty the coffer more.
Well, if there are opportunities.
All right. Maybe if the stock price recovers some more. Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. What is the next stock that we have on doc? Okay, very interesting here. Converge, market darling, especially during the pandemic. I think this hit as high as 40 or 45, and then now it's just back here at 9, 10 pesos. Do you guys like this or dislike it? Can we see your paddles? Ooh, our first dislike for the both of you. All right, could you please elaborate on that? I'm honest.
Well, right now I don't like the price, so I needed to break that price of 9.75 to 10.45 before I see that a reversal is being done. Right now, it's stuck in a reactive consolidation, and it has not broken through those clear barriers. Until it does so, I'll just stay off until I see better trend conditions come.
All right, thanks for that, Juanis. April.
Yeah, I think actually, the fundamentals are not so bad. Well, I think, okay, one of the reasons why it has gone down is because the broadband industry has matured faster than what people anticipated. But among the three telcos, Converge has the best outlook in the sense that it's focused on the fiber broadband versus the others that have mobile, that have wireless broadband, and I like it that converges in the prepaid market. So that is where growth is coming from. Valuations are also very attractive, but I think it's still a bit early to be buying the stock because first of all, unlike the other telcos, Converge will not be paying cash dividends until 2025. And then there is a risk that they will be removed from the PSEI index if AREIT does come in. So maybe a little early. I think probably we buy this more towards the later part of this year and into 2025.
All right. Okay. Got that, April. So maybe actually if this does get excluded out of the PSEI, that might be the perfect opportunity to buy it. All right. What is our last stock, guys? Okay. So last stock is Globe, another Ayala stock, Ayala company. Do you guys like it or dislike it? All right. Another double black eye. Okay. So why do we dislike it? One is
Zerge, inventing new coin terms. Well, look, I mean, the trend here is flat. I don't see any motivating force yet that's generating some upside. I know they've been talking about the potential for its GCash IPO, but so far, if I don't see any push up over to be able to generate a reversal signal on this, then who knows how long it'll take before this attempts to be able to move higher. So given its sideways and flatness, I'd stay out until perhaps it can break out of its 200-day moving average.
Okay. How about April?
Yeah. Well, there are reasons to be more optimistic about the telco sector this year. But you know what? One of the things we were initially excited about the telcos was the tower sale, because that would mean that they would have more free cash flow. They didn't have to borrow as much money. The problem is after they sold the towers, the profits of Globe were actually down during the first 9 months. And then, I mean, compared to PLDT, for example, the dividend yield of Globe is also lower. 5.7 PLDTs is at 7 something percent, and then the PNL wasn't as weak. So yeah, GCash is turning around, which is good. The problem is the turnaround of GCash will probably contribute 1 to 2 billion pesos in PNL, but not enough to offset the lower profits due to other factors. So yeah, the cash position of Globe is not as strong as PLDT. Maybe it has to cut its cash dividends pa. So not as good.
All right. Okay. Yeah, thank you for that, April. Okay, so I think with that we've been able to go through the 10 most requested names. Could we just show quickly maybe a summary of how they rated them? All right. So yeah, my advice to the audience, if I were you guys, I'd actually screen cap this portion. So I was told based on historical movements in the market, they Juanis and April actually tend to have good accuracy in terms of these picks, of course. But of course, you just take note, nothing is guaranteed. And these are more reflective of the short-term views and the drivers they're currently seeing at present. And of course, giving you information, this could change over time.